My name is Jacqueline. This is the Brooklyn Knit Folk channel. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, Pinterest, everywhere that you look me up as @JacquelineSalem. And welcome to the Brooklyn Knit Folk Quilt Along tutorial series. I'm so excited. I hope that you guys are so excited. This first video is an intro video that's going to go over all of the materials that you will need so I can give you guys time to have those materials ready for whenever the Quilt Along starts. Just a couple of caveats before the series begins. I've learned quite a lot by doing these videos now and by putting the quilt together and lighting and all that stuff. This is not a professional series grade tutorial series. Like, I don't have fancy lights. I have pets that are like roaming around meowing and trying to like get in the shot because they don't like to be left out. So I just want to mention up front that these are not like super professional. Like, I chat with you like I chat in my podcast. I hope that's okay with you. I just don't want it to come off as being like, I don't know, not what you expected. I'm a little bit nervous in case you can't tell about this video series, so I just kind of wanted to put that out there before you guys watch the videos. I am almost finished with the quilt itself to do the tutorial series, so the idea is that I'm going to finish the quilt first so that all I have to do is just release the videos for you guys and I can be here to answer your questions. But again, I'm not a master quilter by any means. Like, I've only made like 5 quilts in my lifetime, and people have just expressed so much interest in wanting to learn how to do this yourself. Plus, like, a quilt was the first ever like big sewing project that I ever did, so I think it's a perfect project for beginners. But I just want to say that I'm not like perfect at this, and if you're like really good at this and watching and saying like, oh, there's such a better way, you should be doing this, or you're doing it wrong, by all means, I hear you. You can leave your suggestions in the comments below. Constructive feedback is always welcome. I just want to say that I'm not pretending that I'm some sort of like expert on this. I'm only sharing the knowledge that I have in hopes that it will inspire you guys to make your first quilt. So with that, let's jump into the series, and I hope you enjoyed the materials video, and I can't wait to get started with you guys. See you soon. Oh, and one other thing before I go. The video is segmented into need to haves versus nice to haves. So the first part of the video will go over all of the need to haves on the materials list, and then the end are 3 nice to have items. I have created a PDF that will go over all of the materials list, so you don't have to like sit here and like write everything down. It's just easier, I think, to watch a video sometimes. So I've created a PDF with all the materials list, suggestions for how you can lay out your fabrics, a guide for how much fabric you need to buy, etc., etc. So this right here is just a materials list. It doesn't really go over or get into how much fabric you need, but the PDF that I'm making and designing for you guys will go over in pretty good detail about how much you need to buy of the fabric and yeah, all of that stuff. But just being, you know, a note on fabric purchasing, quilts oftentimes are not like super exact sizes. Like, they're not, you know, an exact twin size quilt or an exact queen size quilt. Like mine, I just bought a lot of fabric and cut out the squares and then laid it out in the pattern that I liked and just made it as big as possible with the fabric I have. That's fine. It doesn't need to be an exact size. Don't get hung up on perfectionism for this project, especially if it's your first one. Quilts are meant to be enjoyed and loved, and the first one I ever made was when I was, I think, in like 5th grade or something, like maybe even younger than that. I can't remember, but it's still the like the quilt that's in my parents' house that we all fight over and want to use the most. I don't know what it is. It's like, it doesn't line up perfectly. It's definitely not like a perfect sew, but it doesn't matter. You're going to love it regardless because it's something that you made. And yeah, so that's just like my advice to you. Don't get hung up on the perfectionism of this. That's not what this is about, especially if this is your first beginner sewing project and learning how to use your machine. Just get to know your machine. Don't be afraid of it. Ask me questions. I'm here to help. But yeah, don't get hung up on perfectionism or it needing to be like this certain size or anything like that. So that's my advice to you, and let's get started. I can't wait to see what you guys are making with me, and I'll see you soon. Bye. The first item on your materials list is a sewing machine. You definitely don't need anything fancy to make this project. I've made quilts before on very basic bottom of the line machine, so you don't need anything fancy. You could make a quilt by hand, but for the purposes of this tutorial series, you're going to be using a machine. The next item on the materials list is fabric. You have a few options for this. You could either purchase a charm pack, which is squares that are pre-cut for you. It's not really important. Excuse me, Jafar. You have a few options for this project. You could either purchase a charm pack, or you could purchase just regular fabric and cut it down yourself. For the purposes of this tutorial, I have purchased fabric myself and cut it down. Don't forget, you're going to need fabric for the top, you're going to need fabric for the binding, and you're going to need fabric for the backing. All of this information is going to be detailed in the Brooklyn Knit Folk Quilt Along handout that I've created for this project. Next item on the materials list is batting. Batting is what you put in between the quilt top and the quilt backing. It makes the quilt really warm. They do come in different sizes, so make sure you're purchasing a size relative to the size of the quilt that you are making. For example, this one is a twin size, so I would need to make a quilt that is a twin size in order to use this batting. Otherwise, I will need to purchase something larger if I'm making something larger, or I could purchase something smaller if I was making a crib quilt size or something like that. I tend to buy this brand right here, the Warm and Natural, just because that's what my grandmother taught me. I tend to go for battings that are 100% cotton as opposed to the poly blends, but you can get whatever suits your needs. Next up is thread. You're going to need about 2 to 3 spools, I would say, for this project in total. You may not use all of that, but just depending on how big you want to make your quilt, 2 to 3 should be safe to get. Just get any kind of all-purpose thread, really, is what I go for, and in a color that matches the fabrics that you are using. So I got the white because I have a lot of light colors in mine, but feel free to get whatever color suits the needs of your quilt. Next up is a rotary cutting set. A rotary cutting set includes a rotary mat, which is the green mat you see in the background, a quilting ruler, which is that clear plastic plexi ruler, and then a rotary cutter, which has the circular blade. I've put in my Quilt Along materials a link to something that has all 3 of these in the same set, but you can purchase all of them separately. Is it possible to make a quilt without these things? Yes, you could make it with just a ruler and a pair of scissors with a pencil and measuring it out, but for the purposes of the tutorial videos, I use all of these things. They will make your life so much easier, especially the clear plastic plexi ruler, because it's already 6 inches and we're making a 6-inch quilt. So for the purposes of the tutorial, I use this. I highly recommend getting one. The big mats can be quite pricey, probably upwards of $50 to $80, but you don't really need one that is as big as this. So the one that I found that I have linked to on Amazon is a $36 set for the mat, the ruler, and the rotary cutter. Again, not 100% necessary, but I put it on the materials list because I use it in the tutorials. Next up is a pair of fabric scissors. The brand I have is Fiskars, but Gingham is also an excellent brand. You just want a pair of scissors that you dedicate to cutting fabric only so that they are not dulled by cutting paper and other things like that. The next item in the materials list is a seam ripper. A lot of times your machines will come with a seam ripper. This one is just one that I purchased separately because it has a larger ergonomic handle on it. I've linked to this one in my materials list, but feel free to just use the one that comes with your sewing machine. The point is just that you need a seam ripper just in case you make any mistakes. The next items that you will need, because this is a tie quilt, we're going to be using embroidery thread and a curved needle to tie the quilt layers together. So instead of machine quilting it, which is totally up to you if you'd like to pay somebody else to machine quilt it for you, or if you want to take on hand quilting it, by all means do whatever works best for you. But for the tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to quilt it by tying the top to the batting to the backing with a curved needle and embroidery thread. You're probably going to want to get around at least 5 of these, I would say, depending on how big your quilt is, of course. Go ahead and get 5. They're inexpensive, so better to be safe than sorry. Curved needle, embroidery thread. Oftentimes these come in packs of needles, but you just need a curved needle for this project. The next thing on the materials list is pins. Pins are by no means required or necessary, but for a beginner sewist, I think they're incredibly helpful to pin your pieces together to make sewing, especially the long rows of this project, easier on you. I have to admit I didn't use pins at all for this project. I'm not really a pins person. For me, they just kind of get in the way, but I can definitely see how a beginner sewist would make your life a lot easier to have them. So here are the pins. Those are on the materials list. The next item you will need is basting spray. I don't have an actual can of basting spray to show you right now because I'm out of it right now, so I still need to order it, but I'll insert a picture here to show you. Basting spray is a tacky fabric adhesive that you'll spray to the different layers of the quilt, the backing, the batting, and the top, to adhere them together so that you can easily quilt them with the embroidery thread and curved needle. It helps keep them together so that the fabrics don't slide and move around as you're trying to quilt the object. It keeps everything straight and tidy so that you don't get any ripples or creases in the quilt as you're quilting it together for the final object. The last few things are household items that everybody probably already has in their house, but I'll go ahead and include in the materials video just in case. First one is a pencil. The next thing is some spare sheets of paper or post-it notes. And finally, an iron and ironing board. These are all the materials that you will need to create your first quilt. Next up, we're going to talk about items that are on the nice to have list. These are all of your, quote, need to have items. There are 3 items that I'm putting on the nice to have list. First one is a quilting presser foot. So this one right here is a 1/4 inch seam quilting presser foot. 1/4 inch seams are what is typically used in a quilt. This one means that it has like a little edge guide right here so that when the needle drops down, you butt up your fabric against the edge of this little guide here and will have perfect 1/4 inch seams. You don't have to buy this presser foot. You can also achieve the same result by layering pieces of painter's tape or masking tape. Hi, Mika. Painter's tape or masking tape. Excuse me. Sorry. Painter's tape or masking tape. If you put lots of layers of it on top of each other and then kind of measure out from where the needle drops down into the machine, you can achieve the same thing by creating like a little guide by layers of masking tape or painter's tape. But you can purchase this quilting foot, or not really a quilting foot, it's just like a 1/4 inch seam foot to make your life easier. So that's on the nice to have list. Next up is extra needles, just in case yours break. It happens sometimes to the best of us. It's nice to have some extras on hand just in case yours break. A universal needle is fine. Typically your machine's gonna come with a few extra of these, but just in case it doesn't, having a few extra on hand is nice to have. And then last but not least, extra bobbins. This is a metal one. They're either metal or plastic. Again, your machine typically comes with a few of these, but it's nice to have, you know, probably 3 bobbins that are filled from the start. It's nice to just go ahead and do it at the very beginning of the project. Nothing is worse than when you're sewing along, you run out of bobbin thread, and you have to make a new bobbin. It just sucks. It's annoying. It's time consuming. It's just like, yeah. So having a few extra of these that you fill up at the start of your project, so all you have to do is just swap out the old one with this new one that's already filled up, is a nice to have object. So these are the 3 nice to haves: the extra bobbins, extra needles, and the 1/4 inch seam presser foot. Or you can just make the same thing by layers of masking tape or painter's tape. Paper or